Well, once again, welcome to our webinar. We want to apologize to those who are watching this on the YouTube live or the recording. We've encountered some issues on Zoom, and we couldn't go past the limit, even though we had purchased the additional capacity. So sorry if you're joining this on a recording, but those of you who are joining on the call, want to welcome you officially. Thank you. Very important time of just learning and growing. My name is Simon Seow, digital strategist with Crew. And along with me, there are a bunch of folks that have volunteered their time and services and energies to be part of this special webinar to equip you. We actually had 200 over people that signed up. So I feel quite bad now that quite a chunk of them are unable to join us. But we'll, as with technology, we always have to be flexible and we keep trusting God, right? So as a welcome and introduction, I just want to briefly talk about, what a privilege we get, right? As a body of Christ. I was, recently brought to this passage in Isaiah 52, verse 1 to 7. Many of you know this, but the idea that there's a beautiful feet that brings good news, and we are called to proclaim peace and salvation, especially in light of the world we live in. So much terror and and pain and shame and just kind of stuff that is fear driven. All the more we get the privilege to proclaim peace and to publish salvation, especially using even technology and in the digital space. So I want to thank you and affirm you that the fact that you are here tells me you really want to grow and understand this better. So let me proceed to the program flow, what you can expect from this webinar. Okay, we've planned it in such a way that the first part, you will get the main content, right? We will talk about just the basics of getting started, the content, the capturing, the engage. You would understand a little bit of just a dip into some of these topics, right? We deliberately choose to use it in an ordinary language so that those of you who are leaders or pastors or even ministers won't feel like, oh, this is way out of my depth, right? And then I will start talking a little bit about next steps and some opportunities in the future. And then we will go into breakouts. So when you joined earlier, you should have been given instructions that you need to put your name with an alphabet A, B, C, or D in the front, at the back, so that we know what you want to attend. Okay, so you choose your breakouts. I will give you some more time to do that. One of our co-workers is helping you put into the different groups. When you do the breakouts, you will see a screen that appears and you need to accept and go into that room, all right? And we have facilitators there that will walk you through with question and answer and so on, all right? So just very quickly about the breakouts, if you stay in the main room, which is A, we will continue. And we will probably come to 2 or 3 rooms there. You will have an in-depth discussion on just the software, right equipment, etc. And then C, more about camera work and some overall production stuff. And then finally, D is how you engage with your online audience. And we will introduce you to the church online platform and how to best engage your audience. Okay, so I will review this in a little bit, but I want to go straight into our first session. Okay, so this is how you indicate your breakouts if you haven't already done it. You hover over your image, you click on the top right, 3 dots, and you should be able to choose rename, and then you indicate by putting your name, all right, and then choose the breakout B. If you don't choose anything, you will do in the main room. If for some reason you got put in a wrong room and that's not what you want to hear, you have always an option to leave the room. Don't leave the meeting, okay? Just leave the room and then you go back to the main room and you can in the chat, you can request again, and we'll try to put you in the right space. Okay. All right. At any time you need to talk to us, just put it in the chat. We have some folks that can help monitor that and try to respond to you. Okay. Okay. Han, I don't know if you're there, but if you are, please unmute yourself and take us away on the first segment on why live stream. All right, over to you. Han, are you there? Yeah. Han, are you ready to go?
Do you hear me?
Yes, go for it.
Because you muted me, you have to unmute me just now.
Oh, okay.
Right, anyway, thank you, guys. I'm from Hope Church, Singapore. So basically, I am the staff in charge of all our events and programs and services. From live productions to all the way to worship, and even now we are doing this church online thingy and the media production as well. So I just want to share why do we do live stream. And I think it's a very short one from me, so that we can go into more details and more the how and the know-hows and all of that. I think the thing is like because of technology, we are able to do this, right? I mean, today, we have about 300. 200 on registered, and I don't know how many are watching on YouTube. But the thing is this, because I think these are the things that we are being possible. The church needs to be where the people gather. Based on the Sync stats, right? Currently, there are about 4.65 millions of people that are actually using smartphone in Singapore. That means, right, actually, right now, even right now at this moment, everyone has a smartphone, everyone has an internet connections, can actually hear the word. Just now, as what Simon has said, the feed, it carries us, carry the word forward, and we can proclaim. And I think at the modern age, I think we are so blessed that we have technology that can actually use to reach out to more than just maybe the 400s, but we can even reach out to the 4.65 millions of people who have not heard of Jesus. I just have a story to share. Just last week, when we do this live stream in our church, and we are able to reach the people that might never come to church. I can read this out for you. This is actually from one of our poly students. When we're doing our live stream for over the weekend, because we have live service, but at the same time we put on live stream concurrently. So this situation, because the parents were concerned about his health, and because of the whole COVID-19 situation, so they wanted me not to go service until my exams are over. So I watched a sermon from home last week. I was actually playing on it on my phone and put it on a full volume so that they can hear it purposely. So even they wouldn't, but he just wanted to do it, as a teenager. After a while, her mom stopped at whatever she was doing and started to listen. And the dad, who was not very open to Christianity, was just listening to bits and pieces. They didn't expect him to listen. And what was more surprising is the mom cried because we played a testimony in that sermon that day. So he even asked her to send all the online sermon link and tell her where the live sermon was on. So she was supposed to bring her to church, but because of her work, she can't, not very keen to go to places with big crowds. But God has a plan. And I think God has a plan for us to use technology. And she still prayed that the parents can come to know Christ, and glad that her mom has started to relearn her love for God. I think these are the examples, just one of many examples that we have seen that church online are able to reach out to places or reach out to people that we cannot imagine. And I just want to emphasize this as well. As today, maybe we go into a lot of technicals, we go into a lot of details and all things. I want to assure you that it is church online, not online church. The online should only enhance but not replace our personal presence in the community. The physical church, we still have our church service, physical life. The online is only to enhance. I mean, it is only as a tool, it's one more extra tool like the Bible, but it's one more broadcast tool that we are able to send out the message, able to proclaim the name of Jesus out there. And during this season, in this situation where people are afraid to step out their door, right? I think the technology allows us, and it allows the church to be online. There's a difference between a church online and an online church. And lastly, I think the church takes feet and faces, not just electrons and avatars. So the best way to do church online is actually intentionally move, everyone possible from being alone on screen and into communities and being incorporated into the covenant community. In our church, we still groups or what we call cell group and small groups. We have spent a long time that actually putting our service live on Facebook, but only recently we start to develop teams that actually what we call online ministers. These online ministers actually are trying to connect these people that watch online and try to connect them physically into our community. I think this is very essential so that people are just not just watching, an excuse not to come to church, but we make sure that we do our best to try to connect people that are watching and then connect them physically as well. Yeah, so this is the rough basic idea of the big why we're doing this. Simon, back to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Chee. I think we can learn a lot from each other, and later on in the main room, we will get a chance to interact with Chee some more and find out some more of the challenges they face and sharpen one another. Okay, I'm going to jump right into this getting started segment, and Stephen Yeoh, our technical director at Hope, he's going to walk us through this segment and will frame for us what are the major pieces you need to consider. All right. And then from here, you might get a better sense which breakout room would fit you better, and we'll take it from there. All right. So Stephen,
right.
can you unmute him? And then we're ready to go.
Cool. All right, good. Thanks. Hi, everybody. This is Stephen from Hope Church. I've been tasked to do this live stream thingy for some years, and we managed to kind of like figure our way out, because that time it was like kind of trial and error. And so over the years of experimenting, we managed to come up with something simple, and we wanted to share with you guys how to do this live stream thingy as a basic, meaning the target audience is for those of us who are new at it, have not done it, or plan to do it. Now, for those who have already doing it, maybe this is a bit simple. You have already passed that stage. So we are targeting for starters. All right. Next slide, please. Thanks. Okay, I just divide this for starters into these 5 big categories. And you got to think of all these 5 in order to kind of like complete the whole process of live streaming it. So the first portion is on the content. Let me see. This live event would be about your service, either in a small group setting or in a church setting. We're taking the existing hall and venue that you have. I assume that you will have a camera and soundboard, microphones, and this device can be used to just capture the content, mix down the audio so that it's loud and clear. Then the camera, if you have a single camera or 2 or 3 cameras, they can all be integrated. That's under the second part on capture. We'll dwell more in it during the breakout room, what it involves. Okay, and then there will be some extra software encoding where you need to then change the video that you capture into 1 and 0s, basically digitize them. And then with this digitized video, you can then send it over to the internet. And that's where the streaming comes in. We have actually used Facebook Live, and we have also used YouTube Live. And we just started using Instagram Live, and now we are going to use Vimeo Live. And Vimeo is a paid subscription. The other three that I mentioned earlier are all kind of like free, and you just have to have accounts for it. And so then after the video has been so-called like streamed into your preferred options, we went one more step into integrate the video to a kind of online web thingy. It's under the how to say, the engage portion. Okay, the slide here shows distributor it should be the engage, the newer version. Okay, so what we want to do is that we want to actually keep track of the audience that comes in, and sometimes they will come in like they can do a chat. We include prayer ministers on it to follow up. They have questions about church and Bible and stuff like that, so we can have some standard answers that can help them, bring them to the next step. So that's on the connecting and engaging with the audience. Yeah, so each of these 5 segments, we will be talking much later on details. Basically, what are the copyrights and what are the how to prepare yourself to speak, or what to do there on the content. Then some of the hardware that you need to purchase, low-cost devices that you can purchase and integrate with your audio and video system. That's under capture. And then also a free software that is online you can download and use on Mac or Windows. That's also be discussed on the Encode. There are other third-party softwares out in the market as well, but we only just do a highlight what we have done, and it is working out for us. So we just share our so-called case study. Then on the stream part, we'll just go through a little bit on Facebook and Instagram, just to show you the interface, not into the detail, but just show you that, okay, these are just some of the rough steps to setting it up. And then once you're on it, then the distribute portion will be also discussed much later. So we have, over the years of trying out, we also find each of these segments have to have ways to improve. Right from the content, how the content is being packed and delivered. The other way is how to capture the best, like lighting for your hall, good sound mixing, because we are incorporating praise and worship music, as well as the sermon. And sometimes we have all these drama and creative items, multimedia video playbacks and stuff. So it has to be kind of like integrated. That's during the capture part, which has another large group of live production volunteer teams. They are mixing sound on the go, mixing the video on the go as well, putting subtitles on the go. Subtitles can appear above or below or superimpose, putting lyrics, putting PowerPoint sermon slides side by side, and etc. So on the capture portion will be also quite a big chunk to learn and grow from. The encoding and the streaming part would be software driven. It's kind of a low cost start. There is definitely a higher grade, more hardware driven devices. They can cost to the thousands of dollars, and they do dedicated work. So whereas the software version is just using your basic computer, Windows or Mac, and the computer can do its encoding on the fly and then stream it out. So that is the low cost entry that I will just share a little bit for a starter. So then the YouTube, Facebook, I assume you would have used them. Then this will be a better grade than using the built-in camera phone. This we are thinking of using the camera of your auditorium and the soundboard, mixer soundboard for you to integrate the sound. Okay, so this solution that we are sharing today is more towards that. Facebook has slightly lesser stringent on the copyright. Sometimes on YouTube they detect any music and song that is copyrighted, it will block and or kind of like mute the audio. Whereas Facebook has a little bit not so aggressive, the search engine thingy, not search engine, sorry, the detection, the music detection. So Vimeo is a paid one. Then we then can take on additional content and embed link and a download link, and there's statistics inside. So that platform will give us more control basically. We can resize, we can have a high res and a low res, a medium res as well, so that different target audience for the countries that we are sending to that is lower bandwidth, so they can opt for the lower so-called resolution and lower bandwidth kind of encoding. So the streaming is done on Vimeo, and we don't have to buy servers or manage them. It's all outsourced, and just pay a yearly subscription. Okay. Then the Church Online would be under another kind of a new category that we are discovering. It was originated from this livechurch.tv, and they created the YouVersion Bible and a lot more other online app that is very helpful. So we learn from them, and then we just kind of like integrate their technology into ours and extend God's kingdom together. All right, that's all in a nutshell. If we have any questions on this side, we will be actually talking about them in each of the 4 breakout sessions later on. All right, so see you again. Thanks. Simon, back to you.
Thanks, Stephen.
Yeah.
Lots of good stuff there. So might be a bit much to digest. Don't worry. Okay, there are big categories, right? You think about your content, you need a way to capture it. And then there's a technical piece of making it into zeros and ones, right? You encode it and you stream it on a specific platform. And after you stream it, people are watching it, you got to find a way to connect with them, to engage them. So we're going to go right now into just a brief discussion on content and just some things that will prep you in thinking of that better. So for that, I invite John Rajan from Covenant EFC, video producer there, to walk us through that. Right. So before, just a quick reminder again, if you haven't chosen your breakouts, you need to do so. You do so by renaming your display name, your name, and followed by the breakout rooms. Okay, and they are as follows as you see on the screen. Okay, if you have any friends that are still kind of watching on YouTube and they like to join, by God's grace, the room has been enlarged. Can you feel it more spacious now? Because I do. So we have 130 some folks on the call now. So you can bring your aunties and uncles if you like to come join us. All right. So now back to John Rajan, who will cover the content with us. All right. John, can you unmute yourself?
Yep. Can you hear me? Okay. Hi. Thanks, Simon. I'm John. I'm a video producer with Covenant EFC, and like probably most of you out there, we've only just started streaming, and we've been scrambling. We've been trying to figure out different what needs to be out there, and things like this. Webinars like this are actually very helpful for us. Do I get to control the slides? No. Okay. So in terms of content, I mean, there's a lot to say, but I think we will just concentrate on audience and then copyright and licensing for this time. So in terms of audience, one thing about live streaming, and I think Chee and Stephen may have alluded to it just now, there is a slight difference in terms of how we engage, and we need to be very conscious of our online audience. We need to be able to acknowledge that they are there, though we can't see them. So a few things for speakers, if we are not used to doing this, we need to verbally acknowledge, and one of the things to do is to actually look at the main camera and to acknowledge them as part of the congregation in the service. One of the key things when this happens, when we want to do this online thing, is we really need to be aware of what we say and do. The online audience is very different. Some remarks, some jokes that we normally say within the 4 walls of our church may be okay because there's a certain culture, there's a certain, we're used to it. But when we actually open up our service to the online platform, we need to be careful. And some remarks can be easily misunderstood or misconstrued. So I would suggest that when you prepare your content, be mindful that you are going public, and that be mindful how you actually use your words. The consequences of it are really tough, and it's going to take a long time to repair if we're not careful about that. And then the other thing is that part of the content prep is also to ensure that you, at appropriate times, include the online audience in your service. Don't just at the beginning welcome them and then totally forget about them throughout the service. So it's good to ensure that at different points, when you actually engage the congregation, also remember to engage the online audience. Okay, we'll move on to copyright and licensing. This was a crazy journey for us in Covenant, because when we wanted to do streaming, we realized that we've been asking a lot of people and different ones. We got different answers. We couldn't get a straight answer from supposedly the authorities. And so the key thing about copyright and licensing when you go online and stream is that you, first of all, you need to own all the things that are presented. I'm assuming sermon is original, but I don't want to take that for granted. So I'm stating it here. Photos in your slide presentation. We can't just pick up pictures from Google search and then just dump it in our PowerPoint slide. We need to be careful about that. There are sites like Unsplash and Pexels that allow us to use royalty-free pictures, and you can use that. And then if you are showing videos during your sermon, you want to be sure that you have the right to be able to do that. Yeah. So if you don't own it, an example of worship songs, seek permission to use or have the relevant licenses in place to use them. I'll talk a little bit about the worship music licensing a little towards the end. And then, yeah, just also if you're unsure, check what currently your church has, whether they do have, what kind of licenses they have, and whether it covers in terms of streaming. I'll end with Covenant's experience. This all happened within the last few weeks. Yes, you probably would have guessed. We wanted to have our own streaming service, and then we realized that we didn't. Our CCLI license doesn't cover streaming, and we tried to check out from CCLI office. I think they're based in Australia, and they said they didn't have cover for Singapore streaming license for Singapore. So we checked with Compass. Compass is the one that normally oversees the music stuff within in Singapore. And then there was a guy, Gerald, who mentioned that Compass actually issues licenses for streaming, and they're called a communication rights license. This covers streaming songs covered under Compass's repertoire, which is more than not just the Christian songs, but also the secular songs. And so when I wrote to this guy, Gerald, he said the license basically covers for live streaming. These are the charges. The standard charge is 2,500 excluding GST per platform per day. So, but he did say that we are prepared to extend a 1-year coverage for live streaming for your Sunday services for a sum of $8,000 excluding GST per streaming platform, subject to following terms and conditions. And the terms were, the live stream has to be geo-locked to Singapore, meaning it can only be shown in Singapore and not outside. So the organization who's broadcasting this, or sorry, live streaming this, is the owners of the organization to ensure that it is geo-locked. A list of musical works that you are using in your worship service will need to be submitted each week so that they can actually pay royalties to the song owners or publishers, and there shall be no proration or refund of fee for unused period should the license be discontinued. So this was the option that we had, 8,000 plus GST, and you kind of cover for 1 year this whole idea of singing songs over for live streaming. Then we also wrote to Hillsong, and they came back to us, and that they don't have a standard fee, but it's really based on a congregation size. So each church, if you want, you will need to write to them individually, and they will quote you a fee. And I'm not at liberty to mention the figure, but suffice to say that it is a 3-figure amount compared to Compass's close to 5-figure amount. But it's just that the song selection will be limited in this sense. So just to share Covenant's journey, because right now we're not seeing this as a long-term solution, so we have decided to go with the Hillsong option, and then we'll see how if we actually and we can use public domain songs, and then the few churches in Singapore who have written their own songs have graciously allowed us to use as part of our worship repertoire. So we kind of have a pool of songs that we can use for live streaming. And if we are considering a long-term plan, then the Compass option would actually make sense. If not, if your church has Hillsong or Planet Shakers or Battle Music, if you're inclined to sing their songs, then you may want to write to them personally and find out how you can do that. So my conclusion is that you need to know if this is a temporary solution or is this a long-term one, and then you work it out from there. Thanks. Over to you, Simon.
Thanks. Thanks, John. Really, a lot of complexities there, but each church has to kind of figure that out. And thank you for sharing Covenant's example. So we move on from content to capture. So here's where you get a little bit on some good ideas on how to make sure your inputs are good. So for that, Joash from Faith Methodist Church will take us through the presentation. Right.
Okay, hi guys. My name is Joash. I'm a full-time media staff at Faith Methodist Church. So I'll just be sharing a quick, very, very brief segment on what kind of angles to shoot for your worship services. So for pulpit, right, we normally go for close, centralized, minimal headroom tight shot. So if you are looking at my screen right now, you can see that this is something to emulate lah. Can you go to the next slide, Simon? Yeah, so this is what we use for our church services. We put him right in the middle and we minimize the headroom. So headroom is essentially the space between the head and the top of the frame. So we minimize it so that the viewers at home will get a much better experience. And if you have multi-camera setup and your other camera is one other side, let's say it's on the left of stage or right of stage, then this is where we apply the rule of thirds. So what this means essentially is you put the preacher along the line of the thirds. So if, for example, he's facing to the right, let's say your camera is on left, stage left, you face him, he's facing to the right. So if you look at my where I am right now, can you go to the next slide, Simon? Thank you. So this is the nose room, between the nose and the end of the frame. So headroom is head and the top of the frame. Nose is the nose and the end of the frame. And what you can see is, imagine the lines, the rule of thirds. You just put him along the line of the third. And you just apply the two rules, headroom and sufficient nose room, and then you'll be more or less fine. If your camera is on the other side, for example, you also want to apply the same the rule to the other side. So it works on both sides. And one thing to note, you must always follow the speaker. We want to give the online viewers some sort of immersive experience. So it doesn't really bode well for them it doesn't really work well for them when, let's say the speaker moves, like you go out of the frame and the camera doesn't follow, and then they feel a bit disconnected after that. So we always try to keep the speaker right in the middle, and when I move, the camera will move also. So it's like I'm always in the middle, something like that. And where you place your cameras as well is also important. One of the few services that we try to live stream, we forgot to check for people, tall people who are standing in front of the camera. So it was like, oh, we put this camera here, should be no problem. Then this really tall guy came. Then he started to, I mean, he stood up. So they all rise for worship, right? So he just stood up, and then we all like, oh no, you can see the back of his head is covering like the speaker. So I think that's one of the things to take note as well. And if your congregation likes to like raise hands and worship, this is something also to take note of, because once they raise their hands, more or less your shots will be blocked. So it'd be better to elevate it, your tripod and your camera, so that you ensure that nobody blocks your view. And the other thing is also to place the camera at a low foot traffic area. This means if let's say this pathway, this aisle, there are many people, everybody walks through this aisle. You don't want to put your tripod there because people will kick, people will knock and all that. So what we always do is we cordon off a certain area, we put a tripod there and we tell people to go by another way to prevent people from kicking our tripod. And if you have more than, let's say you have dance items or choir groups, I like to frame them using the imaginary border. Simon, the next slide. So if you can look at your screens on the slide. Let's say mine is this is a choir. So we have an imaginary border around the choir to give some sort of breathing space. Because if you zoom in very closely, people tend to get a bit like claustrophobic. So if like, let's say my face is like super close, you don't like that, right? You want some sort of border around whoever is on stage. And also if you have a separate camera on the side, let's say your cam 2 for instance, we also apply the same rule of thirds. The speaker, you always put him on the left, even if it's a group of people dancing on stage or singing on stage, you also want to put them on the left or right, depending on where your camera is, and try to get some shots of the crowd as well. And if you have only one camera and you really unsure, you don't dare to try, you don't dare to play with anything, the most default camera angle is still wide and centralized. So this angle you confirm cannot go wrong. You try to put the entire stage. If you have a cross there, it'll be nice as well. So you just put the entire stage there, centralize it, and you'll be fine. Then when the speaker comes on, you zoom in to the speaker, and when he's done, you just zoom out back again. So that works with one camera setup. So later on, I'll just be showing you guys going through some technical camera gear. Yeah, we can just talk gear and stuff. Thanks everyone. Back to you, Simon.
So Joash will be in breakout room C, okay? And we had some earlier questions about copyright or licensing. John will be in the main room with me and Chee, okay? So just take note. If you are changing your rooms, please be patient because it's a manual process. We don't have a robot automatically switching you. So we are watching the change and trying to put you in the right room, okay? So, okay, one more final session before we go into breakouts, okay? And we've talked about the content and capture, encode and stream. You will get a little bit more in-depth with Stephen, Aaron, Char, and Haikun in the 3 rooms for encode and stream, okay? Do not worry. We already, the Lord divinely will put you either with Stephen, Haikun, or Aaron. You will enjoy either one of them for sure, okay? But now we will go to engage. And again, just to emphasize that this is key. Okay, we're not just broadcasting and hoping that people will be moved, right? We want to find ways to connect. So let me invite Jericho. Jericho from Hope Singapore. He's got a lot of experience here, and he will share with us. All right, go for it, Jericho.
So yeah, I'm Jericho, and I've been doing a lot of IT stuff in the marketplace for like a couple of decades until I joined Hope Church as a full-time IT manager. And on pastoral side, I've been leading worship. I've been leading house churches in Middle East and district here in Singapore. So let me start by quoting this quotable quote from a senior pastor in a mega church. It goes, if we don't embrace new technology, we will be left behind. I'm not talking about the left behind in Revelation, left behind in terms of um, in terms of technologies, because nowadays the digital age we live in, it has given us options in the area of video streaming. Stephen mentioned about IGTV, YouTube, FB Live, and other streaming technologies. And so the usual question is that why use church online if everyone is comfortable with FB? The youths are in IGTV, YouTube has been stabilized. Why move to church online? And that would lead me to my next slide, because church needs more than a video streaming. You see, the key here the key factor here, why we are embarking on church online, because of this live engagement and promptness. We want to reach people in their time of need. You see, if you just imagine with me, you're using an FB Live and someone is at the back of the computer, log in, managing the account. You see, most of the time, this person would have a hard time to keep up with many requests and so on and so forth. But with Church Online, you can do your online ministries with a team, with a group of people who would engage people in real time, and there would be promptness because they would be able to reach people in their time of need. No need for people to wait until the service or the streaming is over. Then they would send email, they would send inquiries and so on in their time of needs. That's the key. And another thing is that I think this is very timely. Why church needs more than a video sharing? Because we want people to keep the church habit, even they are sick. COVID-19 now is people would look for ways to attend church without physically being there. So I think this is very timely, because even at the comfort of their home, they could still feel that they are being they're part of the church. Someone is engaging them, and someone is attending to their needs. Also, if they have difficulty to travel or they are traveling, and even we want to extend to reach to local community, we want to help connect people to life group or small groups or wherever they are locally and go globally. So later on, I'm going to share about the integration of another system, what we did for Church Online, what we are planning to do for Church Online. So we want to do an integration of another system that is called the LG Finder. So imagine with me someone just watching your streaming, and there's this burden to be connected to a community or a house church. So a person who's engaging this person would be able to tell where is the nearest life group or small group in near the place of the one who's watching. So something like this. We want to help connect people, and we want to reach people who might otherwise be unreachable. And so we need a tool that provides not just video sharing. And moving on to my next slide. So this is the view guest experience. So you would be able to see later. I will explain more about the functionalities and features on the next slide. You see, as Stephen has mentioned, Church Online platform is a free tool from Life Church. So it allows us to do our own online ministry. It has video, it has chat, it has live prayer and more. And it's totally integrated with YouTube, Vimeo, and other streaming providers. And best of all, again, the platform is totally free for churches. We have been using this for over 9 months already, and we never spend a single dollar for this. But let me highlight a few powerful tools. All tools here are powerful, but let me highlight maybe a few, like the slide. You see, if we have Simon, if you could go back to my slide number 3, you see a small banner below the screen that goes God anchor of our victory. This can be customized actually. Like you can put a banner that would lead people to giving, or would lead people to responding to an altar call, and it can be automated or it could be manual. So there will be synchronization of what's going on in the physical church and what's going on online. So if you go back to again to the 4th slide, Simon. So let me highlight the translations. We have tested this many times, especially for Chinese. So let's say I don't speak English, but I want to chat. And what I can do is just switch my language from this platform to the language that I'm comfortable with. And the one will receive it in the language of their preference. So you see there's language barrier. You can connect to different races from different languages and different territories and different countries. And I think another one that is even more powerful is the integration with other systems. So if you are going to move to my next slide, Simon. So these statistics are not from Church Online alone. So we are able to do an integration with the Google Analytics, Vimeo Analytics, Power BI, to make the presentation more visual, appealing, and intuitive. So the 2 charts on top, these are the out-of-the-box charts from Church Online. The 2 on the 2 below, these are from Power BI and Google Analytics. So what I'm trying to say is that, yeah, we need more than viewing, and more importantly, we want to know our audience, where our audience are watching, what are the demographics, what are their time of preference, and so on and so forth. And lastly, last slide, choosing the right solution is just half of the task. The other half is about putting the right people to use the technology, because we may be able to implement the best technology out there. It's not applicable to your church. And even more, the worst is that you don't have the people who would be able to utilize and leverage on this technology. So let me end by, let me just share with you what I'm showing right now. So in total, we have 40 volunteers, 36 volunteers who are, we call online ministers. These are the people who would every week wait for people that they can talk to, they can pray for, and another group of people who are IT specialists who would be on standby to check if there's a query about the technologies. For example, they cannot hear, they cannot see the video, and so on. So they will be on standby. So 2 group of people. So total 36 volunteers and 4 full-time church staffs working and doing all this stuff every week and every services that we have. So let me end by sharing a story about this guy who just with a simple chat that goes, "I'm an addict, I need help." You see, imagine this: with a click of a button and a few words you type, transformation can take place even using technologies. So thank you, Simon. I'll see you in the breakout session.
Thank you so much, Jericho. Awesome stuff. I've always reminded that, behind every screen, is a person. You're not just interacting with a computer or with a mobile phone, but there is a real person behind that screen, and just the power of this platform to engage them in meaningful ways, and the team that you guys raised up. Awesome. All right. Okay, so we're getting ready for breakouts, and I will explain one more time so that it's clear. When you see the screen on your computer or your mobile device, it will invite you to join the breakout room. You have to click it. If not, nothing happens. And when you click it, you will go into another room where your facilitator will take you on for chosen. You decide you want to go to a room, just indicate, and we'll do our best to send you to that room. No problem. Okay. If you are sent to the wrong room and you're like, I don't like Steven's face. No, just kidding. Or it's the wrong topic, you know, I want to go back. That's fine. We cannot switch you from room to room, but you can come to the main room and then we can try to assign you to the room of your choice. Okay. So before your breakouts, just a few things that we want to let you know. We have curated resources for you. The link is in your chat. You can see on the screen as well. And this is a site that we specially ask some of the experts that you heard here to curate a few links that have served them well. And in a different categories, some are a little bit more technical, some are related to finer tips to do better. And so go ahead and soak that in. We also have put the link to this slide deck that you are seeing right now. It's also there. Okay. Number two, if you want more training, okay, you got to let us know, because when we set this up, and in case some of you did not know, I've never met some of these folks on the facilitators team ever before in my life. But God put us together like a week ago, literally, some of them a few days ago. But they said, yes, I'm willing to use my gifts, my skills, and my experience, what I've learned, and to bless the larger body of Christ. But I know it's not scratch every itch, maybe even after the breakouts, right? So Stephen has offered to offer a little bit more training, especially in the technical, how to set things up. And if we receive enough of an interest, we can put together another webinar and host that training. Okay, so you got to let us know. Number three, in the survey. Okay, so take note of the survey link. Russ or Lillian, can you help me put that link in the chat? That short link, and basically tell us what you thought of this, the opportunity, this webinar, and then also indicate if you want more training. Okay. And finally, the Indigenous community is a local chapter here. You can also click on that link and just find out more about them and what you can do together with them. All right. These are a group of talented individuals with want to give their gifts and talents to God and serve Him in the digital space. Okay. All right. We're going to go into breakouts now. Okay. Let me repeat. Please click join the room. Otherwise, you will just stay there. All right. We'll give a couple, minutes to just let people settle. And facilitators, please take over once you're in the breakout room. We will not return to this room. Okay. The meeting or this webinar will end from the breakouts. Okay, so we already have the curated resources for you there, and the live stream guide on the web page, and the survey that we are requesting for you to do. All right. Okay. Ready? You should be able to see a link and click and go for it. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for being part of this webinar. Enjoy the breakouts.